Okay, guys, I think we can start. So first, a little update from my side. Who is know, I'm Valery. I'm working community engineering team, but generally looks like I see a lot of friends, so I think it is not surprise. So starts this week, a community engineering team joined the project, and so we expect to get more contribution and collaboration starting from now. One first step, I created poll in Slack channel, and I think we have not better result. 8 guys are ready to start contributing right now, and 13 guys are about to start contribute late. I share screen. You can see result of voting, and I am going to communicate with all of these guys directly and propose to him first tickets. Also, by the way, it can be interesting. Stan created tonight some topic, and you can read about state of GraphQL, how to enable mutation, so on. Also, update, we had contribution day at Khmelnytsky at Atwix Agency. Thank you, guys. And during the contribution day, 10 pull requests have been created, and a few guys from Atwix will demonstrate a result of more of interest in this pull request. So first, according our agenda, is Roman Glushko. Roma, tell us your story. I stop.
Hello, guys. As it was said, last week we had a contribution day at our office where we had a chance to have briefly getting started with GraphQL project. And I had a chance to create 3 pull requests with Alex. And yeah, today I'm gonna show you all of them. And gonna show you one working example of that, because the rest of them are required Git branch engine, so I don't want to take your time. That's why let me share my screen. Yeah.
Roma, are you disabled with debug?
Yeah, I believe so, but let's see. Yeah, that was my first good issue to take, and that was this issue is about the content staging feature that is part of Magento Commerce. So as you know, that feature adjusts a little bit the system, and it changed the master key for a couple of entities. And we have a wrong method that rely on the wrong master key since the content staging is enabled. That's why this pull request is about the change in this relation, and also there is some changes to the related API functional test. So we refactored this a little bit, and that's about this pull request. So that was my first issue and the first task in this first task and pull request in this project. Also, the following one, I had a chance to take one more task, which was much more interesting, because it required knowing the whole workflow of adding a new API to GraphQL. So in this pull request, we enable GraphQL API for CMS blocks. So that was the first interaction of this API, and in that we enable ability to fetch content of couple of CMS block at once, and in case that we have some block that cannot be retrieved for some reason, for example, they are removed already or they are disabled. So in that case, we return partial response, which looks like that. So let me share. and show you what was done there. So in this case, we are gonna fetch information about the existing block, and we are gonna have information about identifier and block title. So right now it, yeah, and also content can be retrieved, I believe so, yeah. And let's retrieve content as well. And yeah, for the first interaction, we just retrieve the raw content of the block, but I believe we should integrate that with Page Builder, which is part of Magento Commerce, and apply some changes for open source Magento to don't offend our contributors as well. Yeah. And if we specify some wrong identifier over there, like this, we should get the partial response from the API, which end with getting the errors key in the response, and also data key, which contains, as you see, the information about block that can be retrieved. Yeah, and that's about this pull request. And yeah, going through the files, I believe I need to fix the, okay, we have a question in the chat. Okay, hi. And yeah, I believe I need to fix the Travis build over there, and also probably that's it for the first interaction, yeah. And for the next and the final ticket, that was enabling API for CMS Pages, which is pretty the same stuff. So basically, we will use this when, along with the API from the URL resolver. So it should work like that. PWA will send the part of URL to this resolver, and as a result, we get the entity type and entity ID for that URL. And if that entity is CMS page, we will use this API to retrieve the page content, and I believe to show them in the end. So yeah, in this pull request, we also have the only first interaction, and the following one, I believe, require changes to the page content to have a rendered content, and also changes to have it more customizable. Thanks to Valera for bringing this to us. Also, I have a small notice from Andrew, which I'm gonna also fix, and also some issue with Travis, which I'm gonna fix as well. So that's pretty it from this demo. Thank you very much for listening, and nice to meet you all, guys.
Thank you, Roman. Hello, Omar. Don't worry if you miss the start of this meeting. We will share record of the meeting later. Okay. Next presenter, according to our agenda, Artem Klimov. He will share his status. Artem, are you ready?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, guys. Let me share my screen. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. So I that contribution day I resolved two issues.
Artem, we have some kind of water. I don't know. Maybe you share another screen.
Yeah, maybe. 1 second. Mhm. Yes, 1 second. No. Seems it should be correct. It's
Yes.
time. Yes, I had 2 tickets. First ticket was alphabetized schema fields. Let me show how it works. For example, when you set an endpoint, send in request, and you looking into documentation part of window, and you want to see what fields you have. Here you can follow links, and here you can see that fields are not in alphabetical order. It's unuseful, especially when you have a lot of fields, so you want to find something. So this simple commit was provided. Let me switch branch and show you how it works. Yes, I have switched the branch. So now we set an endpoint. Some delay of the cache cleaning. You send in query. Now we see fields are in alphabetical order. Much better. So another ticket was we had to add attribute values for cannot switch. We had to add attribute values when you see some information about attribute. For now, it works this way. You specify attribute data and retrieve some information about it. So when you want, you have no ability to get option values for attribute. So the issue was to provide option values for attribute if it has such values. For example, this request should be executed. We see that it marks this option as unavailable. So let me show how it works for now. I will switch the branch. Waiting for endpoint to set. Yes, set. So now we see that attribute options field became available. We can pass query and I get option values for and that's it. So Valery, do you hear me?
Yes, yes, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. You can stop share screen. Thank you, Artem.
Thank you.
And last our presenter according our agenda is Yaroslav Rogozav. And Yaroslav, you can share your screen.
Yeah, hi guys.
Oh.
Sharing my screen. Okay, so I have done 2 pull requests during the contribution day. And the first one is related to the issue reported by Christoph. So the problem is if you make a query for category, if you need to take some data from category, and if you add some additional like inline fragments here, there is an issue. So you'll get a fatal error instead of the data. I will show why. So actually, if we remove this fragment, everything goes fine. But if you add like inline fragment like this one or any other fragment, the system fails to process this request. And as we can see here, in some places of the category resolver, we have like processing fields, and the system awaits the field node among the nodes, and the system tries to retrieve the name field of the field of the node element, and if there is some element which doesn't have the name attribute or it's not a field, the system will, like on an attempt to get this value, will have like undefined property error. And that's why we need to check if the node element is not an inline fragment. So we have the inline fragment node element on every attempt to add some inline fragment to this query. So by adding some additional checks, so we don't need the inline fragment data on this stage. On this stage, we just generate a collection. So this data will be taken into account on the later stages. So we just can't bypass this data by just, if we have this node element in the loop, we can just skip it and go further. And by adding the 3 additional checks, we have resolved this issue, and so you don't have the fatal error anymore, and you have the correct data in result. And the second pull request is related to the coverage of URL rewrites part of the products. So the original task was to add information about the URL rewrites for products list that we retrieve using GraphQL. So the main attributes that should be present in the response is the request URL. So it's the user-friendly part of the URL, and the parsed values of the target URL. So for example, if we have here product, and this product belongs to some category, we will have two different URL rewrites for this product. So because one URL rewrite contains the path to the category, and the second one is a canonical URL. It just contains the product ID. And in case of different parameters in the target URL, we should parse them and return every one of them. So as you can see, in case of just canonical URL, we have product ID, which equals 5. And in case of the URL that represents a product in the category, we have two parameters. We have product ID and we have category ID there. And that's pretty much it. Thank you. If you have any questions, please ask.
Thank you, Yaroslav. Looks like that's all from our presenters today. Generally, I have one question. What is your first expression? Because we consider the GraphQL is one of new innovation technology. Yaroslav, can you share? What do you think?
You mean my expression or my impression?
Oh, my impression, sorry.
My first expression was if the inline element fragment equals something, it was the first expression.
By the way, maybe we need to encapsulate this logic in some class. I think we can continue to discuss after this minute.
Yeah, there are many points that can be decoupled and just changed, so it's a point of discussion, I believe. And as for impression, it was great because like if you go to the backlog, and it's really easy to pick up some issue and start working on the issue straight away. You don't need to guess what needs to be done within the scope of this task. So everything described very well. You have user stories, you have all additional data, you have steps to reproduce. And by just having some briefly information about the framework, you can just jump into and start working on any issue you like. So that's my impression, and I like it.
For that, we need to say thank you, Misha Kotov and Alex Polerush.
Thank you, guys.
So from Misha, maybe do you have some updates? Maybe some you would like to add?
Sure. Yeah, I was just going to introduce myself. Yeah, my name is Misha. I know I was actually out during the week that you guys had the contribution day and did all this amazing work. So I came back and I was kind of very happily surprised and shocked at how much you guys were able to get done. So thank you guys very much. You did a tremendous amount of work already, and I'm excited to have this many brains and eyes on this project, because this is going to be, you know, extremely valuable for Magento going forward, and this is going to be the base for, you know, PWA, but not just that, but a lot of other you know, headless projects which have been growing in number increasingly over the last, you know, in the last few months. But anyway, yeah, as far as kind of direction and next steps, I'm sure you guys, or I'm assuming that you guys have seen the backlog that's in our project. So what I wanted to share real quick, let me jump on the screen and share the mind map. So there's a link on the wiki to the mind map. It's kind of a good way to visualize, you know, direction and kind of organization of these stories. So what I did before today I went in and tried to mark all the PRs that we have kind of in flight that have not been, merged or finalized yet. So I try to mark them with this kind of a almost completed square icon. So that's that we'll use that, I think, for kind of in progress issues, just so people know what has been started or at least submitted as a PR, so that people don't pick up issues that are already in progress. But I think it's a good reflection. It's not 100% up to date. I need to add a couple more items on here that have been reported as bugs. So we'll update this. But as far as kind of where our priorities lie in the future is we want to focus on checkout coverage as next step. So that's going to be up here, kind of top right corner of the mind map. And maybe I can make this bigger so you guys can see better. So what we were kind of thinking is that we could start with basically start implementing mutations. And I know Stan had posted his kind of experience in working with mutations, and Alex Palaros, he's also he also did a little bit of changes, I think, to the framework to allow for mutations, and I think he's just finalizing some tests to kind of have an example of how to do that. But we thought that the next kind of few logical steps would be to start working on items like this. For example, manage cart items. So creating an object, cart object, and being able to manage the items within it is kind of the next good story. And then there's a bunch of kind of related mutations to cart where you can add things like gift cards and coupons, and add billing and shipping addresses, and being able to take remove items, etc. And I know Umar, your team had expressed interest in kind of picking these items up, and so I want to give you kind of first choice if you and your team want to continue doing that. Is that still the case?
Yeah. So I'm feeling very excited, like working on the module, since I believe that this is the beginning of the phase 2, and in the phase 2 we have like checkout and cart, and I always enjoy to work on checkouts and then working on the totals collection, the tax, discount, and these all parts. So Alex just proposed me to work on the first card, and that is related to creating a empty card for either guest or logged in user. So I'll be going with that one. But before I had meeting with Valerie yesterday, and we went through how the mutations are working in GraphQL in Magento. So I didn't get the whole idea, but I believe that with the help of Valerie, we are like studying together this, and we will be obviously achieving something. So I'll be resuming the work from creating the new cart, and then I'll move to the next task, like adding the product to cart, and then we will decide what's the next.
Okay, that sounds good. I think in general, this is a direction that can probably be parallelized. Meaning, I don't think this is something that one person has to work on and tackle the whole thing. I think this could be probably handled by several different work streams. So, and you can see there's a couple different directions where we could take it. Things like adding and managing payments, adding and managing address information for customer on a cart. All these things will need to be done somehow before we can, have this full-fledged checkout functionality. So, if anyone's interested in, different parts of this flow and this process, feel free to jump in and kind of take on these issues. And obviously, reach out to me or Alex or Valerie for details if you need more. Sometimes we put kind of stubs or placeholders in place of kind of scenarios or acceptance criteria. So we can certainly clarify things when there's questions.
All right, thank you. So So will we be resuming with the first add to cart, and then, or we will be working concurrently, like on, and at the same time we will be working on the shipping module or the payment module plus add to cart and discount modules? Will we be working at the same time on different things related to checkout?
I think we can, or at least we can attempt to, unless there's a strong reason why we shouldn't do that. And maybe you guys can tell me from a technical perspective if that's the case. But my thought was, you know, multiple people can be kind of working on pieces of the checkout. And if we, you know, there's kind of a breakdown that I just showed you of different components of the checkout flow. So I was thinking that different people can pick those up. The first major kind of decision would be to figure out what the cart object looks like. So we kind of have a proposal out there in the ticket that I just showed for endpoints and schema that Alex had posted. And we want to kind of refine those and make sure that that's, you know, we're in a good place with that. And so we will be looking for feedback and ways to improve it. I think roughly it's based on the object, what the object looks like for our REST API. But if anything, you know, if you guys have worked with REST API and have ideas for how it could be better, feel free to speak up so that we can, you know, we can make improvements during creation of the GraphQL API.
All right.
Awesome. So I think that was all from my side. I just wanted to kind of nudge you guys in the direction of the checkout is our next biggest thing to tackle, but I'll also make sure to add the few bugs that came up in our issues list to the mind map, because I have to manually keep those synchronized. So I'll make sure to have that done.
Thank you, Misha. Looks like that's all. And as Misha said, if you have some question related to project, if you would like to try contribute, ping me, Misha, or Alex directly on GraphQL channels. So it was great to see you guys, and I believe we'll continue. And so see you next week, guys.
Yeah, huge thanks. Thanks again. Good to meet you guys. See you next week.
Okay, see you. Bye.